All right. Cool, we're all good. And I'll sort of back up on here, go on to airplane mode.
Oh yeah, that's actually a good idea, isn't it?
Yeah, there's people.
No one can contact
I
me.
was thinking when you were talking about how you were playing HQ and that someone rang you like right in the middle of it. I was like, oh, that so sucks. We'll probably get this back up. So we'll just put it back. All right. Kia ora and welcome to Cinema in Context, where we discuss all things film and the connections between. My name is Jeremy Downing.
I'm William Chen.
And today we are joined by a very special guest, Sinead Fitzgerald. Welcome, Sinead.
Hi, thanks for having me.
It's great to have you here, Sinead. Now, Sinead's an actor. She works at a casting direction agency and has had a lot of experience with film and film watching. So it's wonderful to have you here today.
Thank you for having me.
And we're going to be talking about two very big films today. Two very big films. As you know, each month at Cinema in Context, we discuss two films, one current and one retrospective, with some connection. That could be the same director, the same actor, or a similar theme. And this month we are discussing Battle Angel, or Alita Battle Angel, which came out recently, and Avatar, which came out 10 years ago now, in 2009. And the connection being, they are both written by Mr. James Cameron, who I believe is a New Zealander now, right? Is he?
Yeah, he's got a farm by Peter Jackson's house in Wellington, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
So, William, give us a bit of an overview of Alita Battle Angel.
Of course. So Battle Angel Alita, or Alita Battle Angel, depending on which version you're looking for, is a long gestating James Cameron adaptation of a manga originally by Yukito Kishiro. It was released as a OVA, I think, in the early 90s, so original animated short, but it's been the longest time, I think, since the 90s, since James Cameron actually acquired the rights to come up with this cyberpunk tale of a amnesiac teenage girl who's a cyborg and her adventures in this post-apocalyptic land with sports teams and I don't know, killbots and evil police states and classism, set again amongst the backdrop of a crumbling society of the future.
Excellent. And Avatar, if you don't know what Avatar is, then I would be quite surprised because it was the film of 2009. Again, another long gestating James Cameron piece. His previous film had been made 12 years before that, Titanic, which again, if you don't know that film, why you're listening to this podcast. So it was 12 years in the making. He had spent a lot of time doing a lot of underwater documentaries before then, and this sort of Avatar project had been brewing for a long time, even before the 12-year period. I think since his childhood he had dreams of making stories in space in a kind of Fern Gully-esque world, which I'm sure we'll get to talking about soon. And so Avatar follows Jake Sully. He is a Marine who has lost the use of his legs through combat, and because he shares DNA with his brother, who is a much more qualified scientific person than him, he is well placed for the company to be able to use him in the Avatar project, which is putting his brain into these made up blue, I don't know how would you call it?
Giant blue alien people.
Cat people.
That are, I don't know.
Yeah,
giant blue people.
Giant blue alien cat people. And he goes in to infiltrate the native indigenous society, the Na'vi, and through that falls in love with the culture and with one of the people, and a war ensues between nature and industry. There we go. Avatar and Alita. Where should we start? Which one should we start with?
Can we talk about James Cameron first?
Let's go.
It is absolutely crazy how this one guy and his visions have created not one, but two of the highest grossing movies of all time. And both very, very different movies, but it's just somehow, I think both these movies show that, or at least they show me, his writing is pretty blunt. These movies are all about big emotions and big heart, but somehow he always manages to capture this zeitgeist that audiences love and want to come back to again and again. And I'm sure like Alita Battle Angel is it's not going to do as well as his two previous films, and it's actually we forgot to mention that it's directed by Robert Rodriguez. So it's a collaboration between Rodriguez's Troublemaker Studios and James Cameron's productions. So it does feel different from a Cameron movie, but it's still, it has that sense of grandeur, but in a very simple, almost straightforward, kiddish kind of way, which I find fascinating.
Yeah, I mean, he's had hit after hit after hit after hit. I don't think Cameron has had a flop.
No, ever.
I mean, his first film apparently was Piranha 2, which he snuck into the studio to like edit every night. But yeah, I mean, I'm a massive Aliens fan, as I'm sure you both know, and Terminator 2,
Yeah.
Abyss.
Love it. The only flop he's ever made was giving away the rights to Terminator.
Oh, nice.
That's
Nice.
it. But I mean, he's got it back now.
Yeah.
So,
What do you think he's going to do with the Terminator franchise?
I mean, I'm a massive Linda Hamilton fan. Terminator 2 will always be my favourite film alongside Titanic. So to have Linda Hamilton back in Terminator is just, I don't care if it's the crappiest movie ever. She's in it. She's back as Sarah Connor, so I'm going to love it no matter what.
Cool.
Yeah.
I really, when I was a kid, I watched the third Terminator. I was like, oh, that's not too bad. And then it's one of those movies you go back and watch and you're like, ugh.
That's really bad casting.
Yeah. And then the third one was, the fourth one. I actually quite enjoyed the fourth one. It was
Really?
the first two acts.
Salvation?
Fourth one, directed by Mick G, who also did Charlie's Angels and the first episode of Chuck.
Hey.
So he's a pretty cool director. And I mean, there were obviously a lot of squabbles on that set with Christian Bale, but the director stands very firmly on the side that he believes Christian Bale is a great actor, which is true. But I thought the only thing that annoyed me about that film was just Sam Worthington's lack of being able to stabilise an American accent, which is just keep it as an Australian. If you can't do an American accent, that's fine. Sometimes cyborgs can have Australian accents. That's fine. Let's not limit that.
Yeah. I think that film, I agree with you, Sinead, and I think that film, the first two acts I really enjoyed, and then it just all falls to pieces. Like when Christian Bale's character, John Connor, goes into the compound, I'm like, what? Like, and I think I read in the preparation for that movie, it was originally going to be what's his face? I just said his name. Christian Bale playing the robot character. Spoiler alert. But then he was like, no, I'm not playing that character. I'm playing John Connor. And John Connor was only supposed to show up at the end of the film.
Interesting.
So they kind of had to reject the movie. But then the latest Terminator movie was so bad.
It was fan fiction.
Oh, it was
what it was.
and it retconned the whole original films.
Yeah.
And it didn't answer any of the mysteries that it had promised. And not in a way like, you should be happy that it's a mystery. It's like, no, that's actually fundamental to the story you're telling. Like, we don't actually know where the Arnie character came from.
Yeah.
I mean, I loved the father-daughter bond between Sarah Connor and the Terminator. I thought that was, lighting up the little fan in my heart. But in terms of a good film, it really contradicted everything that the series was supposed to be, and it did really feel like I was reading some fan fiction or a fan who had won a competition and got to write a script.
Have either of you been to Universal Studios to see Terminator 2 3D?
Yes I have. I think I've been on that ride 4 times.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I remember, and you go into the Cyberdyne systems.
Yeah,
and it's like, okay, welcome to Cyberdyne Systems, and it's great. I love that show.
And James Cameron directed and produced. Like that's the definitive sequel to T2, and that's all
All you need.
I don't know. What happens? What's the story?
Oh, so you come into a foyer of Cyberdyne Systems, and they're taking you on their tour of their up-and-coming models. So you go into this auditorium, you take a seat, and they start showing off all this weapon tech that Cyberdyne has constructed. And then roughly John Connor comes in through the ceiling, and Sarah Connor comes in through somewhere else, and then Arnie turns up on a motorbike across the stage.
Like live actors.
Yeah, live actors. And then the T-1000 turns up, and there's a lot of 3D of like knives coming through the movie theater. But
because the time portal opens up, they all jump into it, and they jump into the movie screen.
Yeah.
And then it turns into a 3D movie while the people are coming in and out of the screen as, proper Arnold on celluloid, and then suddenly it's Arnold stand-in being an actor, and it's amazing.
Like the special effects were really good for the time that it was released, but I think the last time I saw it was 2016 when I went to Orlando, and it just the special effects, like I'll buy into any T2 related thing, but it didn't do it for me. It was better left for a 10-year-old Sinead to enjoy rather than 20-year-old.
Well, let's talk about that. Let's talk about special effects, because we've already had a brief conversation today about the special effects in Avatar, and I suppose let's jump into that. So James Cameron, Titanic was freaking amazing. I love that film, and it's a film that every time I go back and start watching, I end up just watching the whole thing because it's just.
My dad and I watch it religiously at least once a year. We'll mention it in passing and say, is it time to go back to the Titanic? Yes, I think it is. So it's that film that we watch, I think, maybe 3 times a year, and then Terminator 2 as well, 3 times a year.
Nice.
Matrix if we're lucky, but that's a whole other tangent.
Yeah. See, I'm like that with, like I've already mentioned about Aliens. I love that movie and the escalation of how that grows. I wasn't talking about Avatar, now I'm talking about Aliens, but just like how it's like an hour of slow burn, and
James
then
Cameron just makes good stuff, you guys.
he does. I think let's talk. What he does do well is he talks about he does his groundwork with his characters. Like he spends time. Like same with Titanic, it's like an hour and a half before any kind of major event happens. It's all in terms of like plot, but it's all character just built up, and all the tensions are built up so that he can just escalate situations and you're fully there in the moment. Like I think about Aliens and how it's like they're trying to get out of the compound, and then the aliens are in the roof, and then they're getting out, and then the girl goes missing, and then they get the girl, and she's got to go down to the queen lair, and then she gets out, and then there's the queen on the ship, and she has to do this. But it just goes, it's just amazing. But okay, so Avatar. So 10 or 12 years later, he spends all this time on Avatar, and it's a wholly 3D world, pretty much. There's a bit of live action in there. And it's very much a far cry from the Star Wars prequel films kind of ushered in an age of like
digital filmmaking,
3D animated filmmaking, and for better or for worse, because on its own the digital worlds look great, but then when they composite the real actors into it starts to look a bit goofy. Not really the case with Avatar. I suppose theirs is a fully 3D world anyway, isn't it? There's not many human characters that show up unless they're in like suits or something. But yeah, when I went back and rewatched it, I thought it looked great. But Sinead, was your first time watching the film.
Yeah, right? I had never seen Avatar. I remember it came out in 2009, and I watched the trailer for it, and it was always played in Noel Leeming on those like 3D TVs.
Yeah.
So I could go in and watch snippets of it. But I always said, whenever someone asked me, I said, if I wanted to watch a movie about blue people, I'd watch The Smurfs. And I was very adamant. And then when, of course, I was invited to do this, I was like, okay, well, now's the time. And watched it. And I just, 10 years, in the space of 10 years, VFX has just changed dramatically, and especially after watching Alita and the amazing special effects in that, and then watching Avatar, it was just, I was unable to buy into the special effects, unfortunately, because of the massive, the 10 years. It just didn't, I wish I had seen it in 2009, because I feel like I would have had more of a connection to it than just watching it and thinking, this is just special effects and a Pocahontas backstory.
It really is a Pocahontas backstory.
It is.
Fern Gully with a mix of the Marines from Aliens.
Complete with the Pocahontas side characters as well. There's a Coco
There's
Arm
a
stand-in.
I was
He even
saying
looks
that,
like Coco Arm with the high forehead.
And the dad, and
Yeah.
I was saying to Adam, I was saying, that's Coco Arm. Oh, Coco Arm's gonna fight. Oh, it's classic Coco Arm. He's gonna die as well. That's classic Coco Arm. It's just, it was almost as though you could predict the whole story.
Yeah.
I think I will say the world building of Pandora and all of that still really holds up for me. yes, the characters, including the fauna and the humans and the Na'vi, they do look like cartoons. Even the live action segments look really cartoonish. I don't know what kind of CGI sheen they had on the actors, but it just doesn't look like real people, especially on, you know, a smaller screen. But the world building, it does feel like a believable place. And that feeling, I think, still comes through 10 years later, at least for me.
Yeah, it did for me as well, because last year we went to Orlando again and went
nice.
to Animal Kingdom, and they have the world of Pandora there and these massive floating... it's incredible. It's taken directly from the world. So to see that and then watch it on the screen, it's just, you know, full credit that
Wow.
it was definitely something I can buy into. That's incredible technology there.
I didn't love the film when I first saw it. I thought it was a good film. I went along 3D, you know, shoveled into these. There were tiny cinemas at the time, the 3D cinemas as well. And the 3D thing didn't really impress me that much. It sort of became not 3D after the first 10 minutes of the film. But I wasn't that impressed with the story for those reasons. I was like, this is just a pretty stock standard, you know, Pocahontas style film.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, this is fine. I think I might have seen it twice at the cinema back then, and then I hadn't seen it since. So it's been 10 years since I've seen it. But I really enjoyed it. I think just the impressive nature of how he does build characters. I wonder if it's to do with the fact that it has such a clear vision and arc and flow, and we're being conditioned at the moment. A lot of our films are re-edited and re-edited and re-edited, and like a lot of quick cuts. And like all the Marvel movies are just like these jigsaw pieces that work overall.
Yeah.
But in terms of like fluid filmmaking, it's just lots of pieces all kind of pieced together.
Just like Alita Battle Angel.
Wow, yeah, true. Literally pieced together some of those
Oh
characters.
yeah, that too. But yeah, absolutely agree, Jimmy. That there's such, even though yes, the storyline is pretty bog standard and it's simple as, but just something about knowing where the character ends up and seeing the complete journey and everything feeling so realized. And even with the side characters as well, like Michelle Rodriguez's character.
Yeah, I forgot she was in it.
She was in both of them.
Yeah.
She was in Alita
She was
as well.
Alita's mentor
She
in
was
the
the mentor,
flashbacks.
uncredited.
Oh,
Yeah.
I did not know. I was trying to figure out who that was.
Yeah.
Cool. Didn't look like her at all, did it?
No.
Creepy teeth.
The thing that the creepy thing that I loved about, well, yeah, I think James Cameron is an incredible filmmaker. He does subtle spectacle so well. But another thing that I love, which I buy into so much, is his soundtracks. Like he creates worlds from the soundtracks. They just give me goosebumps every time I hear the soundtrack for the Titanic. And I could hear the Titanic soundtrack in Avatar. There were moments, and I was like, "This is just a tie-in of all of his films."
It did feel like that. I would agree with that. Like you've got aspects of each of his movies all kind of in there. You've got the science fiction and the
like in Alita, where they pick up the Terminator skull, and I was
Yeah,
like, "There you go."
do they?
Yeah, there were so many different allusions to Terminator in that film, which I was like, I'm here, I can buy into this.
I missed that. Let's talk about the 3D aspect because that has disappeared, thankfully, from our cinema going landscape. It was like the big new thing, but I don't think I never bought into it, and I just guess audiences never really bought into it either.
I guess, well, two films. Avatar and How to Train Your Dragon. I think they are the definitive 3D experience. Oh, and Gravity, sorry, the third one. But the one thing that connects all three movies is flight, right? Or a sense of floating. And it's so difficult to do. And you see other films, the Transformers movies, for example, that try to do the same spectacle and the same sensation of floating, but it just doesn't work. And there's something about Avatar and the first How to Train Your Dragon and Gravity, it's unique. And I think to capture that has been so tricky technically that, you know, audiences just don't get that experience anymore. And, you know, why go to a 3D movie if you don't have that 3D feel?
Especially if you have glasses, because then you have to put the
It's so
glasses on top of
uncomfortable.
your glasses. But when I watched it, 'cause obviously the version I watched wasn't in 3D, you could see the definitive parts of the film that were designed to be 3D. And I guess it was kind of like a bit of a disappointment to have missed out on that. I feel like it would have been quite even more of a spectacle to see it in 3D. but I can't even remember the last 3D film I watched. I honestly think it was a James Cameron film. I think it was a remastered James Cameron film.
Cool.
In cinemas.
Ah, cool.
Yeah, either Titanic or Terminator.
Wow.
Yeah.
I think for me it was Suicide Squad.
Really? Was it in 3D?
I mean, it was on those post-converted things, but it was pretty cool. Like, the credits all popped out and it was really flashy 3D, and it's like, this is what I paid for.
I really enjoyed Tron in 3D. I'll give it that because they did the whole Wizard of Oz construct where in the real world it was in 2D and you're wearing your glasses and you don't really notice. And then when you went into computer land, it went roar. And I was like, wow, this is cool.
It's like what they did for Coraline as well, where, you know, in the real world it is really, really flat. And when she goes into the tunnel, the whole film stretches inwards. Really cool
love
effect.
that film.
That's cool. Okay, Battle, what is it called?
Angel.
Battle Angel.
Alita.
The title is way too long.
Yeah, long titles, eh? Lord of the Rings brought that in, and we've sort of still got it. Yeah, what do people think? What do we think about Alita?
I thought the storyline was too predictable. I thought I was sitting in the cinema with Adam, and as soon as he gave her the name Alita, and I saw the look between the doctor and his assistant, I just turned to him. I was like, "This is his daughter's body." He's given her his daughter's body, and he was like, "How did you know?" I'm like, "Look at the look. They've just completely set it up, and there's no, you know, it was very easy to guess."
Actually, it's worth mentioning. I didn't mention this. Full spoiler alert, people.
Oh yeah, sorry.
That wasn't a major one. That's at the start of the movie, right? So we're all good. But full spoiler alert. So yeah, we will be talking about everything in full spoilerific fashion. Yeah, carry on, Sinead.
Yeah, and I just, it was a film that the action sequences were just incredible. I loved it. It just took me back to The Matrix. Which was, I know Kung Fu. It was great. It was so great. But yeah, in terms of the storyline, it was, not as good as I thought it was going to be. And I was quite disappointed with the ending because at the going rate of how this film is going and its projection in the box office, which was not good on President's Weekend, I don't think they'll make another one. And so now it's like, now you're just leaving me with my own fan fiction. I'll just create it myself and be constantly disappointed.
Alita will never confront Ed Norton in person.
I know. And also, who knew that was Ed Norton until he took off the little tiny glasses?
Pretty great. And everyone went,
I know that guy.
I recognise him, not immediately, but I recognise him, I think, the scene before he was in it.
oh, really?
Yeah.
With the glasses on?
Yeah, I was like, who's that guy? He's someone big. And then I was like, I think it was the mole that gave it. Yeah. I felt like the film, I describe it as, it's a 4-star film. It's a 3-star film for me that's going to get 4 stars because the action was so good. And it was so good, not just because it was good action, but because I really cared about Alita. Every moment that she's on the screen and every time the story's following her, I was loving life. But every time it went away from her...
And focused on Hugo?
He's terrible at acting. He looks great, but he's such a bad
Does
actor.
he? I think he looks a little puffy. Oh, man. Sorry. I'm just going to hijack it here. Because
You go.
I thought... Why did they have such terrible casting? It reminded me of Valerian in the City of a Thousand Planets.
Oh, we've talked about this before on a podcast, haven't we?
I've never seen that.
Oh, boy.
It's Luc Besson who did Fifth Element.
Oh, I love Fifth Element.
Yeah, and it's kind of
Multipass.
Fifth Element-esque, but it's just, you loved it, didn't you?
I really like that movie.
We ripped
but
it to shreds.
the lead of that movie, Dane DeHaan, is so woefully miscast that the movie would have been... I honestly think it would have been spectacular if they just cast someone else, just anyone else. And I have the same feeling for Hugo, played by Kian Johnson, he's a pretty boy, but he has this anti-charisma about him that even, I think Alita herself works really well, and I love how she's a fully digital creation, and it's a little scary how, after a little while, after you're, used to seeing the CGI character, for me, my brain recognized that she was part of the world around her, that she wasn't a CGI character around anymore, and that's amazing. But he never felt realistic. His arc is hilarious, especially in the last third of the film, where he goes through so many character changes with the same expression on the face. He dies with the same expression on his face.
I gotta say, I cried during that bit.
When he falls?
When he falls, I was just like, girl, you worked so hard to save this piece of work, and now he's just fallen to pieces. You go live your life.
Okay, jumping to the end, it's pretty great how he dies, and he's given a second lease of life in a robot body, and it's like, we're not so different, you and I. And the first thing he decides to do is to basically sacrifice himself. I'm gonna climb this thing. Yeah, let's do it.
He's not even sacrificing himself. He's just like, thanks, Alita, for saving me and decapitating me and putting me on a robot body. That's all great. So I think we're good here. I'm gonna go and do what I want to do. You good here? Great. It's like, where's the gratefulness?
The guy who plays his friend, who's the lead in Bumblebee, or the male lead in Bumblebee, I think his name is
he's on
Jorge.
Is that the one that got cut in half?
Yes.
And is he off I Love Simon? I Love Simon or whatever it is? I think he's the friend. He's on the. Have you guys seen that?
Yes, I have.
I think he's the friend in that.
He should have been the male lead. He was way better.
Yeah, he's cool.
And I loved Lana Condor, who was To All the Boys I've Loved. Have you seen that?
Oh, yeah. That's where she... Yeah, that's right.
She's a great actress.
Is she the lead?
And To All the Boys I've Loved.
Was she also Jubilee in the recent X-Men movie?
Yes, she was.
Oh, she's the other friend.
She was the other friend. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, she was cool. I agree with you. Those were much more interesting. With Hugo, there's a scene where he goes and talks to his friend to tell him that he wants, I can't do this anymore. But he does it when he needs to be somewhere else, while he's ripping someone's limbs off. I'm like, surely there's a better time to have this conversation.
Yeah. I don't know if I necessarily agree with the casting point. I think he was a good actor. I just don't think this character, in the way that he was written, could have been anything else other than what he was. That moody, broody kind of stone-faced, I only have one expression, really tied in and was... it worked really well against Alita and who she was, and it created this really nice pair of chemistry just to see two opposites attract. I thought he was a good actor, but I feel like there were moments where he needed to be pushed more, or perhaps it was the timing of the overall film. I agree, it was really weird timing. You're supposed to be watching Alita kick butt at the roller derby for robots, and you're confronting your friend who's now ripping limbs off. Timing is everything. Yeah.
I hear you. I mean, I did enjoy him for the first part of the film. I was like, he's cool. He's got a good look, and he's pretty boy, and he's a nice in terms of her kind of childlike wonder. It kind of works. But maybe it is the arc, because it just fell to pieces. Well, fell to pieces is the pun we're going to use.
So did
Both senses of the word.
I really like Jennifer Connelly in general.
Yeah.
And I just love seeing her on screen. And I cannot say, I don't know his name.
Mahershala Ali.
Yes, he's wonderful.
He's an incredible
I wish he
actor.
had more to do, though.
I wish that those characters were introduced and owning the film through the lens of Alita. I feel like that could have happened. Because whenever it jumped to their different scenes, it was just we're losing the focus here. This is exposition. It could have been told all through her eyes, her massive eyes.
So big.
The motive.
And of course, Christoph Waltz.
He's incredible.
Great. Although I thought the image of him holding the giant rocket axe, it was hilarious, because he's not a big man.
No.
And even wearing the trench coat, he's just this this old dude holding this gigantic weapon, threatening people.
I mean, I get that you can't have guns in this world and it's illegal and whatnot, but you're a scientist, dude. Make a smaller, more efficient weapon. Because by the time you get it into the wall and then pick it back out again, you're screwed. Weapon design is something he definitely needs to work on.
I did think some of the special effects around the faces on those robots was a bit goofy. That was my one criticism of everything else looked amazing, but when that girl ripped off her cloak and she was all the things.
And she was,
It was just
kind of just looked like. Have you ever seen Hellraiser?
Yeah. Some of the first ones.
Yeah. Well, there's one of the demon things, and she's got like this face pinned back, and it kind of just looked like that robot in Alita had very bad cosmetic surgery, or that robot that's been released in China, the new AI, and she's like
Yeah.
robot head, but like
Face,
but
skin
yeah, for lack
face.
of a better word, like a doll face just
Yeah.
put on, and it just looks like you couldn't have done taken a little bit more time to do that.
On that, I loved the body, the Alita body, the daughter one, and just the beautiful ornate
The
carving.
carvings.
That was a really lovely touch.
Yeah.
And also just such a sense of triumph when she gets her final berserker body or whatever it is. I was like, yay! Like that. The whole story, I was just along for the ride.
Oh, that scene where she finds it in the spaceship and she just walks into the water. That was amazing.
Yeah,
I loved that. It was just incredible.
the weight of it, drops the thing. Actually, that's interesting. So the next Avatar film is going to be mostly set underwater.
Yeah.
And I think Kate Winslet's in it, and she's had to film her motion capture stuff underwater. And
Wait, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
She could hold her breath for up to 7 minutes by the time they finished their filming.
That's dedication.
I mean,
It was filmed in New Zealand, right? So we missed out on Kate Winslet, guys.
I have friends of mine who housed her and her husband and their kids at like the B&B or something. They just like the guests arrived on a helicopter and it was Kate Winslet, and they just came and hang out with them at their farm, and like she was breastfeeding, and just that moment when you realise that these people are just ordinary people.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I know. I'm such a Kate Winslet fan.
Oh, she's incredible.
It's pretty amazing that she's done. She's done this. They're filming mocap underwater because James Cameron's like, it just doesn't look real otherwise. Which I'm like, go you, James Cameron.
Did you see his comments on Aquaman?
Yeah.
Yes, shady.
Well, it kind of was shaded.
It
Kind
was,
of
it was a backhanded compliment.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
really backhanded.
and
It was like Greek myth, but water physics don't work like that.
He's so obsessed with some of those details, Water has been a massive part of his whole career. And then the fact that she would go back and work with James Cameron with water when she had such a horrible time on Titanic.
On the Titanic,
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
quite interesting, It'd be interesting to know how whether it's because she's just a bit older or whether he's maybe matured a bit, or I don't know. It'd be interesting to know how their relationship kind of came back together.
Can we talk a little bit about the script of Alita and how truncated but also slapdash it feels? I really think the movie would have been a lot stronger if they don't cram in so much stuff, because there's just so much stuff.
It's like four books, isn't it?
Yeah,
One
that's,
film.
it's definitely at least stuff from 3 different manga volumes.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, what?
So that's why there's the Motorball. Is it called Motorball? Or what's it called?
Yeah, that sounds good.
So okay, Motorball and quote unquote. So that stuff it's a complete like arc for her in one of the volumes. And I guess because it looks really cool, right, and cinematic, so why not cram that stuff in here as well? And I just feel like it really muddles her arc. Because at the end you have that time skip, and she's a superstar now, like sports star.
Yeah, 3 months later.
Yeah.
Okay.
There was a bit of an odd time skip,
Yeah.
I mean, so Robert Rodriguez. Let's talk about him because we
yes,
talked a lot about
please.
James Cameron. So he took the script from Cameron, and because Cameron's like, I'm still working on this, it's still not finished, and he took it and he kind of did his thing on it. I mean, look, Rodriguez is such a hit and miss director. He does everything, right? So he writes his films, he sound edits them, he does the music, he films them, he does the special effects. Like
And he does it quickly as well.
He's like a one-man band.
Yeah.
And that's amazing. Like that turns out great for Sin City, the first Sin
Loved
City.
Sin City.
And
Spy Kids movies.
The first Spy Kids movie.
No, I stand by the second Spy Kids. Island of Lost Dreams is fantastic.
I haven't actually seen it. It's been incredible.
I'm just gonna stick with the first one. I've seen all the Spy Kids, and it still weirds me out to see them now. Mm-hmm. Like, why are you old?
And the girl of Spy Kids was like a sexy.
Alexa Vega.
Yeah.
And she was
Planet
like
Terror.
but not Planet
Oh,
Terror.
no.
In Machete.
Oh, that's right.
She was
Yeah.
like this busty kind of
Yeah.
like
Working with what's his name? He played the uncle in the first.
Danny Trejo.
Danny Trejo, yeah.
and I think she's coming on to him or something. Oh no, she's like.
Oh, weird.
Yeah.
Okay.
I love Planet Terror. Big fan of Planet Terror. I haven't gone back and watched it since Rose McGowan's kind of political activism, and particularly she's such a highly sexualized character in that film. I don't know what that's like to go back and watch, but I do love that movie. And then who can forget the classic Shark Boy and Lava Girl, which young Taylor Lautner, based on his child's dreams or something.
That's really strange. I didn't know that he did Shark Boy versus Lava Girl, because I was thinking while I was watching Alita, I was like, it's like Shark Boy and Lava Girl. She's like Lava Girl. And I honestly, I can't tell you the moment where I can't pinpoint it to a specific moment, but there was just an image. I was like, she's like Lava Girl. What a weird thing to think of.
Have you seen Sin City 2, A Dame to Kill For?
I have not.
No.
I was really enjoying, because I've read the books, and I was really enjoying the first two stories. And then the third story is interesting, but it just doesn't fit into the chronology of the stories. Like, there's characters that turn up that are dead. And I'm like, and it got to a point where it's Jessica Alba's character, and she's kind of on this revenge trail. And it gets to a point where she's going to burst into the big head honcho's office, and she kind of goes on a big killing spree. She has sort of scars all over her face, and she's chopped all her hair off, and she's quite cool. And the Mickey Rourke character's with her the whole time, and he kind of does stuff. And I was like, this doesn't make sense. He shouldn't be alive, because he dies before the Bruce Willis story.
Yeah.
In the
first one. Yeah.
And so then I was like, oh my gosh, this film will just be amazing to me if it turns out that he's actually in her head, and she's doing all this amazing things on herself, through the spirit of Marv, but she's doing it. But it wasn't that. He was just kind of helping her, and I was like, oh, boo. But the first two stories are great. Like, what's her name? Eva Green is just incredible as the Dame to Kill For.
Yep.
But it does feel like, and I've gone back and watched Sin City, and it doesn't hold up. Like, the special effects don't hold up. What was amazing, what was so groundbreaking about that film was the style of that film.
Yeah.
So does it just look super cartoony now? Or?
It looks fine, but it's just we've seen so many films, like the Zack Snyder kind of overwhelming nature of comic book movies. We're so used to some of the imagery now, whereas back then, like the silhouette and the black and white, it was just, we'd never seen anything like that before.
Like, I did love the Elijah Wood death scene, and that still holds up for me.
The dogs.
See how what hungry dogs will do. Loved it.
And great transition from Frodo, Like,
definitely.
Kevin. Is it Kevin? His name's Kevin.
Yeah, his name's Kevin.
With the sharp fingernails.
So creepy.
Yeah.
And,
Rosario Dawson.
Yeah. She was the leader of the prostitutes, right? Yeah.
Yeah, some cool characters.
Some really cool characters.
And
Alexis Bledel.
Yes.
Yeah. Gossip Girl. Gilmore Girls to this. And like, okay. All right. Rory went off the rails.
She's still got crosses. But he's definitely hit and miss. And he hasn't really done... What has he done in the Machete films? I started watching the second Machete film and it was pretty bad.
He did From Dusk Till Dawn. Yeah. I love From Dusk Till Dawn.
But it's a Tarantino and him mix.
Yeah. And did he do Grindhouse as well?
Yeah, so Planet Terror. Yeah. And Death Proof. I love Death Proof.
Death Proof. Oh.
That's one of my favourites.
It's such a good film.
Yeah. Which of course is
so good. Kurt Russell. Yeah.
And Zoe Bell. You got Rosario Dawson.
Yeah.
Teresa Toms. Knows what's her name?
So good.
Yeah.
Did he... I feel like I'm getting my Roberts mixed up. Did he do Back to the Future?
No, that was Zemeckis.
Zemeckis.
But he did
get my Roberts mixed up.
Desperado.
El Mariachi.
Once Upon a Time in Mexico.
I loved that film. Johnny Depp with no eyes. Yes, you have all of my sympathy in the world.
So he's really good at gimmicks. Like he's really good at like Planet Terror, the gun leg. He can pull off those gimmicks. And he does have some amazing stylistic intuition. I think Alita, there are some really cool moments in that movie, and Rodriguez brings that kind of energy to it. I
think what you said about Shark Boy and Lava Girl, I got a sense of that, except with Spy Kids during the motorball. What's it called? Motorball. Motorball segments. Where just something about the digital filmmaking of Robert Rodriguez feels much more digital than what James Cameron does, and it definitely comes through in those mech on mech like sports battles. Just something about it is slightly off. Like the physics aren't quite right. Everything is a little bit frenetic, to put a final point on it. But no, definite flashbacks to some of the later Spy Kids movies, which are they are purely digital creations. A lot of them. But of course, it's intentional. It's supposed to be cartoony, whereas this is not. So it feels a little weird.
Yeah, and I'm still thinking about the giant. I can't remember his name, but the giant robot that's trying to kill Alita.
The Jackie O'Haley character.
Yeah.
Which I didn't know was him until after the
No,
movie.
Yeah.
I didn't know that until now. And just his face plastered on the robot, and you look at Alita, and and she's just absolutely stunning. And part of your brain is like, I know this is CGI, and the other part of your brain is like, she cries, and look how believable she looks, and you buy into it. But with his character, it was more like, why even have the face on there? Just, it doesn't look real. I can't buy into this. Just it didn't need to be there.
I'm just thinking about that comment I made earlier about kind of going back and watching Planet Terror based on what's happened over the last 10 years. One of the things that really hit me with Avatar was the commentary on Indigenous culture. And I think just through my experience and just kind of living firsthand at how much colonization has impacted the kids that I've taught over the last 4 years, and that kind of whole narrative, and just being, as a white man, kind of my eyes being opened to that kind of institutionalized racism and prejudice. It hit me in Avatar, the Indigenous culture and the treatment of the Indigenous culture and the kind of off-the-cuff way that these people were talking about it. It didn't feel as alien to me as it did when I maybe first watched it, or as old school, or as it happened in the past. It's like, I've heard people talk about this, about Māori culture today, you know, I've heard people talk about this, about Samoan culture, and I was crying I cried when that tree got pulled down.
Oh, I was crying as well.
And I just, it really got me in a way that, if anything kind of touches on, like for me, anything touches on child abuse or kind of Indigenous cultures being damaged or anything, I'm just a bit of a mess because I can connect it so quickly to real people and real today experiences. So there's something to be said for Avatar and its kind of exploration of culture, and I take my hat off for Cameron for bringing that into a science fiction action massive, the biggest film of all time.
Yeah.
I don't think the conversation has really happened around that movie as much as it should have.
No.
Well, why do you guys think that is? Because, I mean, it is still the biggest movie of all time, but I feel like, and other places have talked about this, the cultural impact of Avatar, it's not as big as some other properties. And I know, Disney World has Avatar Land and the sequels are coming out sometime, maybe, in the future. But unlike other things that came out around the same time that have gone on to become, real franchises or standalones, which people, refer back to, I'm thinking of stuff like, Children of Men, which people are still going back to retrospectives and this was the greatest movie. And Avatar, it touched so many people on such a deep level, and 10 years later, not many people think about it or remember it at all.
Yeah, I think it's definitely due to the genre of the film. And I think in one part it's because it was so groundbreaking technologically when it was first released that, of course, people are going to focus on how advanced it was for its time rather than the actual cultural impacts of its storyline. And I also think that it wasn't taken the way it should have been purely because it's a science fiction film. And those films that have that cultural impact, you usually find them in independents or in Oscar-nominated films for their genre. Whereas Avatar, because it sits in the science fiction genre, I feel like the Academy would only really take it on that level, and to explore it further would be to go against the grain of what they've perpetuated against science fiction films for so long. It's make-believe, it's made up, and we only buy into that world on the basis that we know it's fiction.
Well, interesting you say bring up the Academy, because there's been a lot of debate about the whole popular. This Academy's this year it's this tomorrow, isn't it?
It's tomorrow.
Or Monday for us.
Yeah, Monday for us.
But at the time of recording, I should say, because this will probably be released a little bit after the Oscars. But so there was a lot of debate about the popular Oscar category, and that was rejected. And then you see, so I hear what you're saying, Sinead, but then you see Black Panther's nominated for Best Picture this year. As you know what I mean? And that film is, in terms of cultural conversation, it's pretty fascinating.
Yeah.
I just think that they take ages to pick it up. You know what I mean? The Oscars take like 10, 15 years longer than everybody else to kind of acknowledge some of these movies.
Like Black Panther is an incredible film, not only because of its special effects, but because it finally gives people of colour a chance to reflect and see themselves in the media, which should have been something that happened when, films were first made. And the fact that we had to wait until 2018 for that to happen is one part disgusting and the other part horrifying. But to finally have that, it seems like the ball is finally rolling. And I hope it does win big, Best Picture. And I hope that the Film Academy can look at it and say, oh, well, we need to put more funding into this, and casting needs to improve, and diversity needs to not just be casting for diversity. It needs to be because it doesn't matter what colour these people are. It's about who the actors are and how good they are. And giving people a chance to see themselves on the screen and have that moment of, oh, I could do that.
I agree. And also that film as well, like it has like the Pizzi Nyong'o character and the Black Panther character, I don't know the actor's name, and then the Michael B. Jordan character. There's all these different like you've got the extra layer of like all these different political kind of viewpoints about pushing back against the oppressive cultures. So it's pretty impressive. I mean, bringing it back to the kind of films we're talking about, and talking about Avatar, I think about the Batman movies and how massive they've been, and we still the Dark Knight series.
Okay.
Like we're still kind of talking about those, I think.
Yeah.
And I hear what you're saying, William. Like Avatar, like it's gonna be interesting to see how the sequels go.
Yeah, I wonder if it will. Because when that tree came down, I was sitting on the edge of the bed and I was like, they have no idea what they've just done.
Yeah.
You've just taken a graveyard. You've just taken their ancestors. That's their history, and you don't care. And I was in tears. I was like,
Yeah.
like,
all for unobtainium.
Yeah.
We haven't even talked about that.
Yeah, we've not have thought of a better name.
We haven't even talked about Giovanni Ribisi. What? They're just trees.
Yeah. I love his exposition speech as well. This is why we're doing this, just to remind you, in case you've forgotten.
Giovanni Ribisi.
At least he didn't tell Sam Worthington, wait, explain it to me as if I were 6 years old.
Yeah. Is he still alive in this series?
He is, Giovanni Ribisi.
Yeah.
Because he walks away at the end.
Walks away, gets on the thing.
Yeah.
Wasn't he Phoebe Buffay's brother in Friends?
Was he?
Yeah, I think that's the last time I've seen him in something. So to see him, I was like, it's Phoebe's brother, I think.
Did you guys watch the extended version of Avatar?
No. I think so, yeah.
So the extended version, this will help you know. So the extended version of Avatar has a whole subplot with Sigourney Weaver's character, and they go to the school. And so that wasn't in the original film. So they go to the school, and there's a whole storyline about how the Na'vi that Jake falls in love with, I forget her name,
Neytiri, yeah.
Her sister and her were her top students, and her sister was murdered in the doorway of the school because they had blown up a tractor or something.
And they came and shot them,
Yeah, so that wasn't in the original film. And they pick up the copy of the Lorax as well. And there's some really lovely moments. And what I will give James Cameron is I'll give James Cameron a lot of things, but James Cameron, his extended versions are worth watching. You know what I mean? Like Aliens as an extended version is worth it. The extra scenes in Terminator 2 are worth it.
Yes,
the extra scenes in this Avatar film are worth it. Whereas some of the other extended films we might watch are a bit like, so that was kind of...
Oh, actually, Terminator 2, the extended scene when the T-1000's talking on the phone with the Terminator, and he's like, why is Woofy barking? And he's like, Woofy's fine, dear, he's just fine. And then it cuts. But in the extended, the T-1000 walks outside and he finds the dog and he rips the collar off and he kills the dog and he checks the collar to see that the dog's name is not Woofy. I was like, I don't really need that scene.
True. Okay, fair enough.
That's a bit, that's fine. I don't need that.
Yeah.
But I hadn't seen the non-extended version of Avatar. So to hear that wasn't included in the original, it's like, why would you not include that in the original?
In the original film, the whole opening with him on Earth?
Yeah.
You never see that. It starts with him waking up from cryosis. And there's a flashback to him seeing his brother in the casket, but you never saw the Earth
I mean, I don't really need him at a bar tackling a person and beating the crap out of him. That's, I don't need that. But definitely seeing his twin in the coffin and having that correlation, realising that they share the same DNA code because they're twins, that's interesting. But, yeah, just the fact that they wouldn't have included the whole Sigourney Weaver being a great teacher and being one with the Na'vi tribe is very interesting.
And her maternal subplot was also cut out of it was also cut out of Aliens and put back into the extended version. Like, you have all the story with Newt, but you never know that she lost her own daughter. You know in Aliens how she finds out where her daughter's at, and her daughter outgrows her and dies, and then she wakes up from cryo sleep. That scene they cut out.
Why?
Because it's just too long. Take your time. Oh, we're done. We're voluntarily done. Okay, I'll wrap us up once I finish my mouthful of peanut. Or almond, or whatever it is. What is it? Cashew. Thank you for listening to another episode of Cinema in Context. If you enjoyed our podcast, then please share it with your film-loving friends. You can listen to Cinema in Context through SoundCloud or through Apple Podcasts. You can also follow us on Facebook or subscribe to us on Twitter or YouTube, which are great places to let us know what you think of this episode, or give us suggestions for future films to discuss or compare. Look out for our next episode in a month's time, and until then, ka kite anō.
Cool.
Thanks, Sinead.
Thanks, guys. That was a lot of